as I sat perched on the hard, cold concrete breaker at the familiar pebble beach, the wind swept across the sea, chilling my bones. The ocean waves crashed against the shoreline before being violently dragged back to sea, their bellowing roar echoing in my head as the shingle rattled and scraped with the pull of the current. The clouds gathered, thickening and darkening across the December sky. I drew my knees towards my chin, wrapped my arms around myself and just wept. My tears of loss, shock, disbelief and heartbreak sliced through my soul like a knife. The pain was so deep it felt as though part of me had been torn away, leaving a gaping void in my core, hollow and soulless. I was 19, studying at art college with a newfound passion to follow the desire to sculpt, very much in love with my long-term boyfriend, a bright future, and about to walk through the rite of passage into my adult life. The words from the consultant optician: "I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you're going to go blind," swirled around and around in my head as though on a loop. All I could think of was why me? How could this be happening? And what did I do so wrong? What did this mean for me for the rest of my life, my future? How was I supposed to live when I was going to go blind?
Can we have the lights up, please? I share with you the deepest connection to ethnography, evocative narrative, through my lived experience of blindness. I, as a blind woman now, came from a sighted world, much like yourselves. My love of sculpture is the very vessel that has brought me to my own personal experience of post-traumatic growth. I do believe that adversity can be one of the largest challenges that we will ever experience in our lives. However, I also believe that is an underlining positive mindset if we can just reach the understanding of which we need to go through to get to post-traumatic growth. I believe that my experience of losing my sight has now given me the experience of going beyond vision. There is nothing in my life that I regret. Do I regret the 19-year-old sitting there on a beach, breaking her heart? No, because that very raw pain, as painful as that is the very ticket that will take the vessel to growth. But you just have to be brave enough to take that ticket in the first place. And nobody gives you a ticket. Nobody will say to you, here's some post-traumatic growth for you. Off you go. You have to live it. You have to breathe it. You have to interpret it to reach it. Evocative narrative through creativity has been something for me that I didn't even know I was doing. Ethnographical sense for me was indeed sculpture. The photos behind me will just show you some of which of the sculptures that I have created over the length of 30 years, 250 sculptures later. The work in the corner there is entitled Time. There is an absolute opportunity for you at your own discretion to go over and have an evocative moment with that piece. Please do use your hands to feel it. That is how it was created. but the evocative narrative of that very creation is indeed my story at that moment in time. The piece is called Time. It was created in 2014 for an exhibition that ended up in the House of Commons. The evocative narrative within that is to represent where I was within my sight loss. I hadn't lost all of my sight at that point, but I was kind of middling. I knew it was going. The clock in the middle there represents time, tick tock, tick tock. I was losing my sight. All through ethnographical lenses, for me, something that I believe I've been doing for 30 years, but just completely not even knowledgeable of it. So evoked in the creativity, but now I step into academia very recently, only over the last year, and it's opened up a whole new framework for me to understand myself and my retrospective look back at my life through creativity. What a wonderful opportunity, and I'd just like to take that opportunity now to seriously thank the people that are involved in that. I'm very humbled to be able to be standing here in front of you today and share my story, but also share what I'm about to encounter go forward as an educator. The embodied cognition with which we all have is one of the most overlooked frameworks which we just don't use. Our bodies hold knowledge. Our senses hold knowledge. We perceive the world through our senses. We all have a somatic response within our bodies which allows us to physically feel sensation. We also have the modality of an internal emotional awareness, which sometimes for us is hard to reach. I believe as a blind person that has been engaged through creativity in a very sensorial, embodied and internal emotional awareness way, I believe that this is a wonderful pedagogical tool to go forward for teaching and learning. So once again, the evocative narrative of my creativity and creating sculpture that can touch you and you can touch it is a form of material thinking and an embodied experience. I'm learning from people such as Tim Ingold, David Pye and Merleau-Ponty, who say that the embodied experience is more than a phenomenon. It just sits within us, but we just need to press the buttons to aliven it, to make it come real. Being somebody that lives through sensorial responses, this is a very frontal way with which I have to engage with the world every day on an every single day level. In fact, to be fair, I take it for granted, probably just as you take your sight for granted. I take my embodied responses for granted. Isn't that interesting? It's almost turning the tables, would you not agree? But I really believe that this creative way, the vessel with which has been my saviour, is also shown me material thinking, embodied, actually is a perfect way to use as an educational tool. Of course, we're honoured today to have the wonderful Bockners here, for which I'm studying greatly, and that is indeed when I realised, wow, autoethnographical lens is something I've been doing without even knowing about it, but now I'm knowledgeable about it, so I must thank you both for bringing that to my attention. And it is also obviously the framework for which I'm doing my PhD. Evocative narrative in education. I'm here as an artist and also as an educator. I already teach in fine arts over in the fine arts department here at Greater Manchester. And my personal evocative narrative is weaved through my teaching. I take my students and my own experience and try to widen their understanding of how they can create their work, not just through the dominant factor of vision. A fact that Sonia Baus who studies disability discord, says that all of our information, 80% of that information comes through the oculocentric of vision. Isn't that astounding? 20% only for the rest of our senses. What a waste! Come on, people. You know, it's like there is so much more to life than just to see. I don't just preach that because I am that. And I just want to bring people on my journey. I just want to bring people into my world, if you like, to go beyond vision. So that's what my education in terms of an educator is all about, to help people see beyond vision. So my students are already benefiting, and I was so honoured to be mentioned quite a few times apparently in their vivas, in their presentations, as somebody that has really opened, I'm not going to say their eyes, I'm going to say the whole of them, and become more empowered, more processed, creative people going forward in their practices. Georgina Cleage also is somebody that my personal work aligns with. She is an American lady who works within arts and culture, is also a blind person, but is creating wonderful change within arts and culture and accessibility. Education, I believe, is the tool, is the key for people to change, to create change, and that's what I'm here to do. A few years back I would have been here telling you all about my personal journey. I feel like I'm ready to go beyond my personal journey, and I want to help others create a better journey, a better understanding within themselves and their own environment. I've created a very unique workshop that is entitled Developing an Enhanced In-Body Cognition Using a Sensory Approach. I blindfold my students for 10 minutes. They are then asked to sit in complete contemplation and go internally to connect with their feelings. Quite uncomfortable. However, within the uncomfortable, growth takes place. I'm a Buddhist. I believe in this because it is part of the religion for which I follow. Philosophy that the seed is planted in the dark, no light. However, that small seed has the ability to grow and reach and find the light and bloom. That's the philosophy that I'm trying to teach, that within trauma, within our dark places, beauty can grow, and is very much a part of my narrative that I speak to you about today. This workshop is a proof to that. The outcome is very profound by my students. The most obvious outcomes that they keep repeating is from fear becomes peace. From confusion comes clarity. And the reason is because they are not distracted by their vision. They are into almost like a hyper-focused sense. Csikszentmihalyi, who I was also studying, speaks of this highly. This space that you can create where time and space, motion, nothing else matters but what you're doing in that hyper-focusedness. I believe that that is reachable for all of us, but we have to allow ourselves to connect with all of our senses, because when we think of senses, we think of the five, but we must remember that the knowledge of the body is a sense within itself. The somatic response, the semantic response, is all added into that pie, if you like. It's all principles with which sensorial living takes place. Evocative narrative within advocacy is also something that I engage with quite honestly, authentically. I am an advocate of the blind community, and I get to be invited by different organisations that are sight loss based to speak at conferences, motivate and inspire, but also try to create change within society, because that is something that I know I now have a platform to be able to change people's idea as to what blindness is. As Georgina Cleage has said, there is such a thing as she's coined the phrase blindness game. I couldn't put it better myself, but I do believe blindness game can go one step further. I'll discuss that in a little while. But I do not see that blindness is a deficit. For me, and for many blind people, it's just a way of living. It's a way of connecting on a much, much deeper level than a sensorial way of ocular centricness allows. My post-traumatic growth, obviously, is very deep within me, and I didn't even know, and nobody would even know, that you were actually experiencing post-traumatic growth. Tedeschi and Calhoun were the first people to come up with that infantry. Strength and resilience, I would say, are the two main things that I've taken from that. I've also done a lot of self-development and self-inquiry through therapy, which I am completely committed to do so, because I believe the more I learn about myself, the more I will grow, and the more I can grow, the greater and stronger I will become. And it's a never-ending story, right? For all of us. No one's ever going to reach that end game. Oh look, we are exactly what we want to be. Of course we're not, because there's always room to grow. There's always room to be. But I really believe that creativity was the vessel that carried me through my sight loss, because it helped me engage in something that the rest of the world could enjoy on so many different levels. When was the last time, ask yourself this question, when was the last time that you can say you actually experienced something through a different modality of your body other than your vision? Do you have anyone that can actually give me an example of that? Dance obviously is an embodied experience within itself. Did that make you feel happy?
Yeah, but there's also lots of alcohol involved, so
But that's just a good example, and I'll slightly run over time, sorry, but that's just a really good example of the embodied cognition which you allowed yourself to connect with. So tell me, dancing and being part of dancing surely is better than sitting back and watching someone dance. Am I right? I'll finish with that. Dance yourself through life. Be brave enough to see beyond vision. Trust me when I say, go and feel that piece of sculpture with your eyes shut. Allow yourself to feel what responses that you can get from it. And please, please, if you take anything away from this, just know that there is so much more life beyond vision. Thank you very much.